So, hi everyone, welcome to this Tech Talk. So for today, the first topic is from Dominic about cache metrics, or how should one create a good SLI, SLO, and what about SLA? But I don't see Dominic, so maybe we can push this topic for later and skip to Gage with what documentation should be included in the help websites.
Yeah, so this was just an issue that came up recently that me and Pep were talking about, and I just want everybody's opinion on what do we think, and to avoid duplicating a bunch of documentation everywhere, what should this help site include in terms of documentation? Initially, I was just thinking all the documentation under the core repository, which is community-based docs, so like SIG definitions, terms and conditions, roadmap, stuff like that, which isn't too much documentation. But then there's also, it might be confusing if we call that documentation and that's all a user sees and doesn't see any of other Thoth specific documentation. So maybe it's just a matter of renaming something, renaming it to something other than documentation. I know Operate First calls it blueprints, kind of like blueprints of the service or blueprints of the community. So what does everybody think?
So we want to provide help, like support and stuff like that. So that is something that we need to channel into the correct repositories and issue templates and stuff like that. Is it maybe worth to have something to have a say on what we are assuming? Like we are assuming you're using Python 3.8.3.9. We are assuming you're using Fedora, so that we set a stage. Because that seems to be more valuable to me if somebody's looking for help than talking about community structure or something like that, or why we do this and that. Am I heading the wrong direction now?
I think there's two parts of this. There's the documentation. I think this site can include both. I think that piece of information that you talked about would be under support. If you had to split things into support and documentation,
yes.
Documentation, there's got to be a spot to put it somewhere. But support, yeah, I agree. I think there should be multiple use cases or a single use case that we can talk through thoroughly to show people maybe where they're going wrong.
One comment I have is maybe a higher level thing, like the objections I added to this comment, like the requests were more about the way it is, the page at the moment. Like I think it is confusing for users potentially, because if you get into the help page, you can you get content that kind of differs a bit from the main page. Like the documentation link is different and contains different things, and there is no easy way back. So, and that's why my main concern maybe that it's not kind of integrated with the website. It is kind of like a different, it seems like a different, I know it is a different website, but I think it would be better to have it, be part of the, more integrated with the general website, I think.
Yeah, I
Along
agree.
those lines, I was wondering, maybe, I don't know if this is, but maybe we should think about revamping the whole website. I don't know if this is maybe out of scope, but
I mean,
maybe the question about documentation is not only about documentation, but also support and also. Anyway.
Yeah, the issue that the Scrum team is planning is a lot about that navigation. So don't look at this site and see like, oh, this is what the navigation looks like. This is just sort of a placeholder. But it's interesting. We could, if we really wanted to, migrate over to using what Operate First uses as their homepage. to sort of be more aligned with that, sort of that format of markdown files being put in. I mean, I don't know. It's just a suggestion, yeah. Using that format across the entire site instead of having this be its own help site.
Yeah, I'm still concerned about the API documentation and all that stuff that is generated from the Python source code. I don't know if we can easily integrate that into the Gatsby framework, but I simply don't know. I think I gave it a shot one time of an hour or so. It was not that easy to do. I don't care as long as we can preserve all that information, and as we don't have to invest like 1,500 days, we can use whatever framework we can use. I'm pretty sure there is a cron job somewhere taking all that Python stuff and turning it into I think it's RST, right? Frito and Hashar. They're somewhere in pipeline turning all that stuff into RST, and Sphinx and blah 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 is involved. If we can easily funnel that into Gatsby, yeah, let's do it.
I'm sure there's a plugin in Gatsby for rendering out RST files. If not, I think worst case scenario, we just have to link to it. Same thing with the API documentation. We can just link to it. I mean, that's essentially what we're doing now in the main site. We're just linking to it.
What about all these justifications and stuff? That is markdown anyways, right? So that should be easy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just making everything seem cohesive, because I think one of the bigger problems with the site is everything's rendered in different ways. You have the documentation that's rendered in its own way, the API is rendered in its own way, justifications are rendered in its own way. Sort of putting everything, it doesn't necessarily have to be under one same site, but under one same theming or structure would make things more cohesive, as Pep was saying, make everything feel like an actual one site instead of linking to multiple different sites.
Let's circle back. So we have a website for help, and we got the support repositories, right? They got a certain mission. We want to help people. We want to help them get into our groove. Maybe we point back to tutorials. Maybe we explain what we are doing. We want people to understand where to get support, how to get support, how support is like, what the process is behind that. That is something that feels like we could easily figure out. If we can, do you need decisions on that one? Do you need to have more documentation on help or support websites, or is it more like, yeah, I just need to do it?
I think a lot of the structure on how we're supposed to do it is defined in things like the terms and conditions or labels, or there's documentation on it. But I think that's more of like, this is what it is, and not this is how to do it. So maybe there might be some more documentation on how to interpret these, how to use these, like what's the process someone should go through if they need to make an issue. So maybe some new documentation, but a lot of it's building off of or just explaining some of the documentation we already have in place.
Maybe it's really worth spiking into using Gatsby for everything. As I said, my main concern is Sphinx related documentation, how to easily integrate that one. But it feels like Gatsby has given us a few advantages. So we could pull the terms and conditions from the core repository. We could pull whatever from other repositories and simply abstract the repository structure away, just displaying it in a nice and cohesive way. That might be a big advantage of Gatsby stuff. I'm undecided. We need to flip a coin or have more opinions on that one. I simply don't know if it takes like 5 months to reorganize all that markdown stuff. That would be like no good.
That's true. If there was, because I like the regular documentation of that's all automated and structured. If there was a way, I don't know, we might have to write something small to just automate the routing, because currently for this, you kind of have to put all the routing in these YAML files and define it yourself. But that seems like something that could be automated pretty or somewhat easily. Or if there's not something already out there.
Yeah. Maybe go ahead and really spike into that one and figure out what it takes us to have Gatsby running our stuff. Other opinions from a content point of view, maybe, because I guess that was the original question.
I have opinions about content and stuff, but my main question is, Gage, you probably want an answer about, enabling that help website, like this PR, right? And for this, I still believe, happy to discuss, but sorry to insist, but I still believe that the way the help site, like we can improve contents, etc., but the current one, I think it's dangerous in the sense that there's no, because it's not yet fully integrated. I think we need to make it more prominent, a way to go back to the homepage and access the current documentation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think we need to find, there needs to be a way to get back there pretty easily. I'll look into that before I actually merge it, and setting up the sort of finalized navigation. That our sprint ends Friday, so hopefully it should be in by then, and then maybe we can look at it next week to see if it's ready to merge. But yeah, I think it needs to be a lot more integrated into the main site, and there's a lot of solutions like converting the whole site altogether or just adding more links back.
It feels like converting the whole site is preferable over putting a lot of links back, because a lot of links means always a lot of maintenance and potential errors.
Another question I have, that's less maybe critical, but the footer of the help page that has links to Red Hat's privacy statement, terms of use, a link to OpenStack's code of conduct. So it sounds, maybe I would reuse the footer from the overall website instead.
Yeah, the reason I use this one, because I just pulled it straight from Operate First and then changed some names. I didn't put too much thought into it, but yeah, I can reuse the old one.
And another one, sorry, while we are at it, the Red Hat mailing lists, which are internal, I'm not sure they should be in the general help website.
Yeah, I just pulled. Sorry.
No, I mean, sorry, not trying to hide anything. It's just that they, to the general public, they are not that helpful and might generate the opposite reaction. Thanks for your help. I cannot access this, right? So.
Yeah, I just pulled. I in terms of duplication, I kind of just pulled this straight from the Thoth landing page. So it's slightly formatted, but yeah, that's why some of them don't seem kind of outdated. Okay, yeah.
Good. Let's do that. Let's get that content wise straight. Let's check if we get good content. Put yourself in the position of a person needing help or wanting to get into the topic. Review a little bit, and then rather than putting links all over the place and cross references and blah blah blah, let's spike a little bit into, can we reuse Gatsby? And if that's good, let's do it. Because I got the feeling that these people got a pretty okay tool chain in place that is building the website, deploying the website, and so on.
Okay, so is there anything else about this topic?
So is this website like the one stop for users to, if they want some support? Is that the whole viewpoint for this endpoint? I see. And this is in the OKR3 discussions happening, right, Kate?
Yeah. So there's some issues I can link that we're talking about the navigation right now. But yeah, this is all OKR3 stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, like if I have any thoughts, I'll get back to you. But I think I'll monitor this for some time. Thanks.
Okay, so I don't think we have any other topic, right? I think we'll push Dominic's topic to next week. So anything else? If not, thank you and see you next time.
Thank you. See ya.
Okay, thank you.